So in this section and this demo, we're going to spend some time on talking about what is the latest updates and future roadmap for the Viva Connection extensibility. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this is also to provide a bit more transparency and insights on the significant investments what we're planning to do here in the future, and some sneak peeks in the further down in the future pipeline on the Viva Connection. So the Viva Connection itself is cool to see. It is really the usage is well, is it fair to say skyrocketing? But I cannot go to exact on the numbers, but they are looking really, really good. And we can see more and more extensibility within the platform as well. And we keep on investing here as an option for customers and partners and developers to build extensibility, so capabilities which might not be available out of the box. Some customer might be saying, I want to have X and Y and Z. I want to have an integration to my LOB system for, let's say, for vacation requests. Yes, you can easily do that. Not a problem. Anything, I'm going to put you on a spot immediately, Luca. Anything what you want to do in an intro, which I didn't tell?
No, I mean, just like
we should actually tell who we are. What are you? What is your role in Viva Connection?
I do stuff. I talk to people. No, I'm basically one of the PM that is part of the OneDrive SharePoint team, and which is part of the extensibility team in OneDrive and SharePoint. I also have the ability to work across multiple teams in Microsoft, like the internal teams, Graph API teams, Copilot teams, and so forth. And most importantly, I work with a set of amazing engineers that are able to build and create the things that you all enjoy. I'm a PM. For me, my life is easy. I make things working on a whiteboard. The hard work is given by the people that are basically trying to understand what I'm saying and building amazing features. So we should thank all of those people, and that's the reason why I'm here.
Yes, thank you, Luca. And John and Alex are representing engineering, definitely already in the call. I'm watching if there might be other people from the team as well, collecting and potentially answering feedback and questions which people might have around the Viva Connection and the platform. And also, my name is Vesa Juvonen. Might have heard my name before in this call, but I'm kind of
never tell us about you.
Yes, I'm the silent Finn. So,
sure.
Finns. But yeah, I'm basically always partnering with Luca in many of the cases, and my role is more on being the voice of the Microsoft, explaining what are we shipping, how it's being used, building solutions, samples, open source, and all of that. So as our magnificent engineering gets us the features and capabilities, then the documentation, samples, videos, all of that is coming quite often from my work. So we use vendors and so on as part of that. So that's kind of the lookup controls the internals and focuses on delivery. I will then take the ball and start actually giving guidance how it can be used. That's kind of the roles within the Viva Connection and a SharePoint framework, I guess. All up.
I beg more than control, but yeah. Moving on.
No idea what that meant. Now, quick repositioning.
Please do this feature. That's what it means.
Oh, okay. So, quickly positioning of the Viva Connection. So, those who do not know, Viva Connection is part of the Microsoft Viva Employee Experiences platform. In that platform, there's a specific kind of a SKU or positioning, which is employee communications and community, where Viva Connection, Viva Amplify, SharePoint, and Viva Engage are kind of falling into that bigger pie. All of these applications have their own specific role, and they're intended to use together. So they're not competing each other. There might be a bit overlapping capabilities, but as an example, you can use Viva Amplify to publish your SharePoint news, Viva Engage posts, and then expose all of that same information in Viva Connection. So it's kind of a shared employee experiences, targeted the communications and employee access on the information. Specifically on the Viva Connection, this is really our people-centered and branded employee experiences across all device types. And this is now the difference a bit on the SharePoint. I'll come back on the positioning with SharePoint a bit there as even more. But really the idea here is that it doesn't matter which device type you're using, you are able to access exactly the same experience with mobile, tablet, and desktop. So again, easily access the relevant tools and apps which are relevant for you within your role. You can customize that based on the organization. It actually even supports personalized customization for a user. So the company can select which are the capabilities and cards and tools and applications which are exposed. And then the user can say, well, when I'm using my mobile, I only want to see these 4 which are relevant for me. Of course, company can disable that option if they want to have a specific set of cards available. So there's a lot of flexibility in the Viva Connection if you are not up to date how it actually works. Now, how do we position Viva Connection between the intranet and Viva Connection? So these are really intended to complement each other. So the SharePoint and intranet is really the company pixel perfect storytelling. So this is what our company does. This is the assets of the company. The top-down kind of a communication, navigating the entire company, searching the whole company, and the tailored news targeted for me of course from a corporate communication. But then the Viva Connection is really about me. So as I'm using or as I'm moving, as I'm driving with my car, I can open up my mobile or tablet, hopefully not computer because you're driving, except if it's Tesla. You can quickly have a look on the latest news, access the latest tooling, which is relevant for you. So this is really personalized based on the user and the role what the user represents and what the user has. And really the employee experiences center apps means that it's things which are relevant for the user. So like in our case for Microsoft, a lot of the applications which we have in the Viva Connection is really about the relevant tooling which I need to access, like for example, mandatory learning, which I need to do, my cafeteria menus for the closest cafeteria where I'm located. I'm just watching the list in here, my stopover details, my vacation details, and all of that, and my report details. So if there's security issues, if there's issues, support issues, I can easily open those up directly from Viva Connection. So I always know where to find all of the relevant tooling for my role, rather than trying to remember all of the different URLs which are relevant for the role itself. And I can easily access all of this from a one centralized location directly from Teams in any device. Now, all of this can be personalized from a company branding perspective, just showing different layouts and different experiences. This is imaginary Contoso Airlines, which has a green layout and different experiences over there, depending, again, on the company. They have implemented custom experiences which are relevant then for the ground crew or maybe for the plane crew. It could be also Contoso Retails, which has a different set of cards, different set of relevant information, which is being exposed between the desktop and mobile and tablet experiences. Now, when we implement stuff for the Viva Connection, just to quickly recapping, we do have 3 different modes to provide experiences. So you can do no-code extensibility, which is really linked to existing Microsoft Teams or Power Platform apps, and you can do personalized dashboard of apps for the end users. So you can actually build different kind of dashboard, define what are the functionalities, out-of-the-box functionalities which are exposed to which audiences. Now, we then have the low-code option, where you can actually do without actually writing code, as in the pro code. You can do static adaptive cards, but those are not necessarily super useful. You want to have that information dynamic, so you can actually access advanced API support. We're going to talk about that one in upcoming slides. It already shipped. We also have Power Card support, which is coming for Viva Connection pretty soon. Probably you haven't heard about this one before. We have a slide coming up on that one, and also Copilot Studio support is coming here. And what it means is that you're able to use Copilot Studio or Power Platform or Power Apps with Power Cards to define custom experiences for Viva Connection. And then, of course, we have the Pro Dev experience, which will give you the capabilities to real DevOps capabilities. So you can build the application in one tenant, move it across the tenants with the package solution super easily, which is not the case with no code and low code, because you need to click through and repeat the steps. The Pro Dev always means that you have that kind of a capability. You're able to package, deploy, control, and you have the IT level governance on the Pro Developer side. Now, let's then go through individual capabilities. If you have any questions, thank you, Paul, for the comment on the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We have engineering in the house as well. First of all, just to recap, we do have a lot of partner solutions available for Viva Connection in the store. If you go AKMS/Viva/store, you will actually find, I think, more than 30 applications already. And a lot of these are actually integration scenarios, which is really the sweet spot of the Viva Connection. So you can imagine something like Workday integration as one option in the Viva Connection. So rather than the frontline workers going to the Workday and signing in and doing things in the complex UX, there's a simplified UX directly targeted and optimized for mobile. So the user can actually go to Viva Connection in Teams, they click the card open, and they can fulfill the task quickly using the quick link, quick action, quick view. within the card against that backend system. And that's really the sweet spot of the Viva connection. So you don't have to move necessarily across the application. You can do the quick tasks directly within the Viva connection UX. And if needed, you can still transition to the application, absolutely. So kind of having those options available. There are definitely, I think, 365 cards mentioned or included in this list as well. So please have a look on AKMS Viva Store. Just calling out reaction on Simon Doe's comment in a chat. But there are a lot of applications. Some of these are available in App Store, which is the same as SharePoint Store. But some of these might be actually that they're not exposed there, but they can be deployed to your tenant if you contact a partner. So there's a lot of existing ecosystem partners who are building with these things. Now, we also have advanced API support for Card Designer. This was the Card Designer V2. This is already available, which was shipped earlier this year in spring, and it really enabled us to do simple API-powered dynamic experiences. And what we mean with that one is that you're able to use adaptive cards, which are static, but you're able to then have an API call for the adaptive card to make it dynamic. So as an example, typical example would be my upcoming meetings. You have a card which is listing my upcoming meetings from this moment forward. You want that to be dynamic, coming from the user-specific API. What are the meetings for the particular user? And then hitting that endpoint behind the scenes, then rendering those meeting invites directly within the UX. Same for the emails. Great examples of using Microsoft Graph behind the scenes, hitting the capabilities. So really the intention here is to empower the makers and builders to create dynamic experiences, not require them to use Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio because that typically freaks out some of our end users, so that they can still make a lot of capabilities available. Now, this does require that you are enabling this capability explicitly within your tenant. That's not enabled by default, but we have all of the documentation, of course, available for you to take advantage. And then if you are the maker or builder, you need to have a discussion with your tenant administrator to suggest that this setting would be enabled, so you're able to actually get access on the functionalities behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I want to add the fact that
yes.
Yeah, and I want to add the fact that it's amazing to see how communities react to these new capabilities. You can already find samples in PNP on how to use this new capability of Card Designer as part of the PNP samples and solutions that is managed by this amazing community.
Yep. Absolutely. I think we learn by sharing our knowledge and sharing the learnings and sharing things. And of course, Microsoft is providing samples as well. But awesome to see that community is sharing those samples as well. Now, something which you might have actually not be aware of, moving on to areas which are still low-code, no-code capabilities. This is kind of both, because adaptive card is JSON and it's complicated a bit, but it's still a code because it's hitting an API. But moving on a different low-code option, something what we're building right now without an ETA, I cannot promise you exact date, but we're looking into supporting exposing those cards also within a SharePoint. Currently, you can expose Viva Connection cards in the SharePoint, but only in the SharePoint welcome site or start site. What do we call that, Luca?
It's basically in a com site, in a news site.
But it's only one site within a tenant. So it is.
We have a dashboard webpack that you can only set up on a specific kind of site. That is correct.
Yes. So now within the future, as we get this feature out, you can actually select and build individual instances of dashboard, whatever is needed, one-to-n cards in a web part. And then those can be exposed in any location within a SharePoint. So now if you think about implementing a card or using the card platform, the same card can be exposed then multiple times in a SharePoint and also in the Viva Connection, which increases then the value of the card implementation. And that includes communication side and modern team side. Definitely, we're looking into having both options there. So really cool option as well. So again, exposing the value of investments, not just on Viva Connection, but also on SharePoint. Now, something else which we mentioned on the intro section already, what we are looking into or what is in the works right now is the Power App Cards support for Viva Connection. This is in works. Again, no ETA, but it's currently being already developed, and we're looking forward of getting this one out. This is something which I was actually in the Power Platform conference 2 years ago when the Power Cards were announced, and then it came immediately to the discussion on, hey, so do we support Power Cards also in Viva Connection? And the answer is yes. We're looking into making that happen. That is being worked right now, so that's going to be available sooner or later. There is already internal discussions ongoing on this one that, okay, so now that we start with Power Cards, going to have full Power App support as well. And the answer is yes, we're looking into that. I cannot promise that, no ETA, but we're looking into making this happen, definitely. Now, moving on things, the next area, Luca, I think you're better to explain. What does the Copilot Studio agents, publishing Copilot Studio agents in Viva Connection mean? This is in works. Yeah. I've seen it. We showed it in build.
Show it in build. We are aiming to release some sort of previews by this calendar year, so stay tuned for more updates here. But basically, the premises here is that as we are making the power users and the makers more and more powerful, one of the things that we want to be able to do is to integrate Viva Connections with other tools that are working with makers. You have seen a second ago all the work that we are doing with all the work that we have done in Card Designer, all the work that we are doing in Power Apps. And now one of the things that we want to do is to be able to support agents that were built using Copilot Studio in Viva Connection. So the idea here is that when you build your agent, and you can basically decide if your agent can talk to using Adaptive Card, which is one of the capabilities that we have in Copilot Studio. At the end, when your agent has been created, you will be able to publish this agent in Viva Connections, and when that gesture has been done, the operator, which is the persona that is in charge of the building and crafting the dashboard in Viva Connection for your organization, he or she will be able to see the Copilot or agent as a card, select that, and basically configure it. And once you've done that, basically the experience for the end user standpoint will be exactly the same like any other card. The end user will see the card, will click on the card, and then what shows up in the quick view, and maybe you want to go to the next slide, what shows up in the quick view is, so what shows up in the quick view is basically powered by the Copilot Studio agent itself. While crafting the card view experience, we are able to provide some kind of capabilities or functionalities for the author to basically make a better experience for the card view itself. So, for example, one of the things that we're working on together with the Copilot Studio folks is that you will be able to, if you are defining some prompts in the Copilot or in the agent, we will be able to surface that information in the card view. And while crafting the card view experience, you will be able to select that. We are mimicking a little bit the card view designer experience that we have in Card Designer, so that the operator will be able to craft that kind of experience around the agent itself, which comes to life when you click on the card or on one of the buttons and the quick view itself shows up.
Cool. It's really cool. So now if you're using Copilot Studio to build your custom Studio Copilot Studio agents, you are able to expose them in Viva Connection, which crossed all of the different devices, which is awesome. Just to recap on that one. Now, the next one is also super exciting if you're into the Copilot agents. So this is also in works. We've shown this in a high level also in the past. Can you talk a bit about exposing Viva Connection cards in Microsoft 365 Copilot?
Absolutely, Vesa. Thank you. And I mean, as you folks see here progressing, you can see a pattern here, which is you do an investment somewhere, and we want to help you maximizing, and our customers and our partners, so everybody here, maximizing these investments across multiple canvases. So a couple of slides ago, Vesa was describing the fact that now we are do work so that cards will show up also on multiple kind of sites on SharePoint, not just in the dashboard in Viva Connection, not just like a home site, but everywhere else. This is basically the same, how you can reuse or maximize your investments in Viva Connections and cards or ACEs, Adaptive Card Extensions, which is the name of the cards that you surface in the Viva Connection dashboard, how you can maximize that investment and surface these cards also in Copilot. And the premises here is that dashboard and Viva Connection is just another set of content that your company has. And we believe that because you invested on Viva Connection, you want that content to surface everywhere. So the idea here is that to be sure that when there is a dashboard and when there are cards, and Copilot understands that one of those cards could fulfill a specific request from a customer, and there is an interaction in any of the Copilot chats, in Teams, in SharePoint, wherever. The Copilot will understand that the card exists and will understand that the user can access the card. Then the card will surface as part of the chat interaction with the user, and the user will be able to interact directly within the chat experience. So the card will be as part of the chat, the user will be able to click, quick view will surface, everything will happen within the Copilot experience. So the user flow will not be interrupted. There is nothing that the card developer needs to do. There is no requirement for you to recreate your card. If your card has been developed 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and has already been widely used in your organization or with your customer organizations, these cards will just surface. Copilot understands the meaning of the card by looking at the title and the description of the card and does the matching by doing that. This is how it's going to work right now. We are doing additional work to surface more capabilities for the developers and the operator to even specify the intent further. But for now, we are just using title and description so that existing cards will just like works, no additional work needed.
Yep. And just to recap, this is again for if you are investing on the Viva Connection, the employee experiences platform, then the employee experiences platform is going to be surfaced for you directly within the Copilot chat or M365 chat or whatever we called it. Right now, again, we're changing the names all the time, but it's basically same investments, multiple location, exposing the same location. Rather than implementing things multiple times, implement once and it's being surfaced in other locations as well, which is great.
Exactly.
Thank you, Luca, on that one. Now, moving on the features, because knowing the time as well, moving on a bit about the pro developer side of the house, so going to the pro code and pro dev side, and answering actually Elliot Cole's question. Elliot was like, well, we're talking about ACEs here. Is that the same as adaptive card? The answer is yes and no. It's complicated. Now, the reason why it's a bit complicated is that ACE is adaptive card extension, and the extension piece there means that it's actually dynamic. It has code. It can hit APIs. It can react on things. Adaptive card by itself is only a UX. It's just a UX. You have to have code behind the scenes, which is reacting on customer button clicks, doing things. And that's actually SPFx. So SharePoint framework, which is powering ACEs, is able to hit backend APIs, is able to integrate your backend systems, LOB systems, hit your Azure APIs, hit Microsoft Graph. So that transforms the adaptive card to be dynamic without running any code outside of your tenant, because SharePoint Framework actually is capable of running the code directly within your tenant. No hosting costs, no security concerns, no nothing. The code itself is still capable of hitting the right APIs based on our business requirements. And the latest version with SharePoint Framework is 1.20, which went G8 last week. With 1.20, we introduced an additional set of card shapes, which are the bar card, donut card, and then what is the last one? Bar and pie, of course, pie chart. So now you're able to build dynamic cards using the ACEs. The UX, which you see in this dashboard, is still powered by adaptive card engine. But behind the scenes, the SPFx is capable of collecting the dynamic data. So it's able to hit again the backend and get the information and then exposing the relevant data for you. And that's really the power of SharePoint Framework on top of the adaptive cards. As part of 1.20, we also released a new powerful web quick views, which provides more flexibility from a UX perspective. And this really, again, coming back on the pro developer storyline here, which is when you are implementing reusable card ACEs and cards, which are dynamic, you are hitting at backend systems, you're hitting a graph APIs, all of that, and you want to move that card across the tenants. You want to do testing in your developer tenant, deploy that to your customer, all of that. That's when you want to use pro developer tooling. Now, starting with 120, again, we have a quick view option, and that means that whatever you see within that quick view, which is the full screen view in here in the mobile, in here, Let me actually do it in this way. In mobile, it would be this view here. You own the whole experience. It doesn't have to be anymore just adaptive cart. It can be HTML and JavaScript, which gives more flexibility from a rendering perspective. So as an example, the OneDrive cart, which is an out-of-the-box cart here, is using the same pattern to provide a dynamic experience, because you cannot actually build and render a tabbed experience by default in adaptive carts. Well, there's ways of doing things of ways, but by default, it would be incredibly complicated. So this will enable additional capabilities, additional control, additional UX, more dynamic experiences anywhere where the card is being exposed across the whole stack, which is really cool.
Again, reusability. You have invested on the code. We want to be sure that your code can be surfaced across everywhere, and we are lowering the friction for adapting new functionalities, just like adaptive card and new canvas like Viva Connection in the dashboard.
Yep, absolutely. Now, then you might be wondering, okay, that was a good recap. No demos today, unfortunately. We'll demo all of the new stuff immediately when it's available, even more. But what about the next 12 to 24 months? So there is a lot of actually features and capabilities in our backlog. We're looking into prioritizing them accordingly based on the customer feedback and the partner feedback. Of course, whenever we get all of the above mentioned things out, there's a lot of stuff you can do with those as well, but there's also a massive amount of other ideas how we can improve and even more maximize the value for customers and partners. Now, one question what I have here, we are running out of time in a second, but if you do have the option and you have 2 minutes time and you're like, oh, well, why wouldn't they do X and Y and Z? Please fill in the form. So there's an AKMS URL. David just pasted that in the chat, akms/vc-community-call-oct 2024. It is a super simple form, but you can actually share that in idea and inspiration for us as well. So if you're looking into something which is missing, you're like, why isn't Microsoft getting this? Use the form. We are here to help you. We are building all of these capabilities based on the customer and partner feedback. Your feedback truly matters. So feel free to fill in the form. Please fill in the form and provide feedback over there. We'll get back on that one.